It's always great to recollect one of the anecdotes from Swami. By way of introduction for Sudarshan, I still recall this moment. The first batch of PhD students came back to the hostel in the month of October, but the curriculum begins in the month of June. So for the first year, all the PhD scholars, that time I was doing my master's, all the PhD scholars came to the hostel, the dorm, in the month of October, and so already the rooms were taken by the current students. And so all the new joinees got an opportunity to stay together in the first year. So the teacher's room was separate. But Swami asked one day to the warden, so where are the PhD students staying? Swami, they're staying in a separate room. Why? In a family of brothers and sisters, they all stay in one room, one house. They should also stay with the students. That was Swami's command. So the next year, the second year of their PhD, I got the opportunity to be in the same room as that of Sudarshan. Swami wanted all the senior boys to be a model, role model to the junior boys. So we had two room teachers, one is Gopi Chandran and Sudarshanam. And as part of the hostel life, we get to see them closer. And it is actually a great learning. The greatest learning is brotherhood of man, fatherhood of God. That is the exact thing Swami has given. And that is how, I just don't want to take too long, but I just want to say that Sudarshan was a very different type of an elder brother who had a different set of talents in terms of engaging the junior students. He was excellent with crossword puzzles. So we used to have crossword puzzles, like SSC has some great ideas. We used to have all the terminologies of mythologies and current Swami's discourses into one crossword puzzle, and that crossword puzzle used to be built by Sudarshan. So he had a different, see, you know what, Swami brings all these students together to bring different facets of other junior students to be built. So Sahana Bhavatu talks about it, and that's how then he went on to hearing. So for a drama, Adi Shankara, which he played, the famous dialogue for him, because I used to be playing another drama at the same time using, I was wearing lady costumes, so I used to get a chance to sit outside for my chance to do the dancing to come while I hear the dialogue. Today is Ekadashi, because Sudarshan played the role of a Brahmin who's very orthodox, and you remember Dukring Karani? It means what? People who are stuck with grammar of a language, not willing to practice what is being said. That is the whole story of Bhajagovindam, which we have discussed so many times in our study circles. So one of the Brahmins who are stuck with all these procedures was Sudarshanam, playing the role. So he was so proud, and he say, today is Ekadashi, and that's how he landed. So that is there in my mind so much, and it's a holy day, he says that, and that's how the whole drama gets built. And then finally, when he was a role model in not only as a student, also in his education, he did research in the state of the art. Fiber optics was introduced by these PhD students in Prashanti Nilayam, and they worked so hard, so much so that even Sinclair carried his publication to the journal in the US. The very first time what he wrote was such high quality deliverable. Every publication in the US would search for such quality delivery of research. So here is a well-rounded personality who can give so many different things, offer so many different things to different people. So we request Sudarshan, my elder brother, to come here and speak. Thank you, Sai.
Adaram madhuram vadanam madhuram nayanam madhuram hasitam madhuram hridayam madhuram gamanam madhuram madhuradipaterakilam madhuram. Vallabhacharya, Saint Vallabhacharya, wrote this song about Krishna. 8 stanzas that describe the physical appearance of Krishna and how he was as a god. If you take all of those 8 stanzas and then apply it to Swami, that same Krishna, not like Krishna, that same Krishna was whom we saw in amidst us, amongst the students, amongst the Gopalas and the Gopikas of the Kali age. That same Krishna. So I wondered, how is this Krishna, how does he have this Akarshana Shakti that he can attract everybody to him? Not one person disagrees with him. Be it a scientist, be it a politician, be it an academically oriented person, a musician, whoever it may be, whatever background, a doctor, anybody who came to Swami, they all went back with a smile on their face, their hearts filled with joy. So I was inquisitive. How is it that in this one personality, of course we can't call him as a personality because he's divine, but how is it that this happens? So I searched, I researched, right, and then finally came to this conclusion. Satyam madhuram dharmam madhuram shanti madhuram premam madhuram prashanti madhuram manava seva madhuram Shiradi Sai Maduram Satyam Sai Maduram Sai Maduravu Sarvam Maduram. So what was behind this Akarshana Shakti that Swami had? Satyam was delightful, Dharmam was delightful, Shantam was delightful, Premam was delightful. These were the values behind every action and every word of Swami that gave us a window of opportunity to look into him and go to his thought process. How did he think about things in the world? Prashanti Madhura, that kind of a peace that cannot be bestowed by the world, he was there to give us that prashanti, that everlasting shanti. And how? He himself showed the path where he did Manava Seva. He didn't tell us and command us, you go to Manava Seva. He was a first leader. He was leading us all from the front, doing the Manava Seva. That way we knew that Madhava really values the Manava Seva. And therefore he showed us a path to go towards him. And that is the easiest path to go towards him, Manava Seva. Shiradi Sai Madhuraha and Satya Sai Madhuraha. No difference between these two avatars. Both of these avatars had the sweetness in them that delighted them, that they gave us every moment of their physical sojourn on this earth. Both Shiradi Sai and Satya Sai gave us that sweetness, shared that sweetness with us. Whatever these two avatars did, everything was sweet and delightful. Let us collectively offer our humble pranams at the divine lotus feet of Bhagavan Baba. Respected elders, dear brothers and sisters, I would first like to thank Sai Shravan, the President, S. Kumar, Mohan Kumar, and the esteemed team here, the organizers of this center here, for inviting me here to speak today. It's always a pleasure to be sharing a few little drops of this ocean of love that we have experienced in Swami's presence. One thing that we have, I always think about it this way. If I only were to take what Swami did for me, that would be a very finite way of looking at things. But imagine this. You take all the people in the world who have come into contact with Swami in a physical form. But there is a level in which he has acted, right? He has done things where people do not interact with him in the physical sense, that's Satya Sai Avatar, but still he has been doing a lot of good for them. If you were to take all of that and put together, he has been active every day, 24 hours of the day. He has no vacation, he has no sleep at all. Put together that way, take everything and put together. What an enormous magnitude of service that he has done. Madhava himself has come to tell us, no, you got to do Manava Seva. This is the opportunity that we all had. And as students, we got to see a certain side of Swami, a more intimate side of Swami, where we got the privilege to be with him all through the day. So this is how I viewed it. If you were to see him only during darshan, let's say 15-20 minutes of darshan, okay, I get a certain perspective of him. If I were to hear his discourse for 1 hour, I get a certain perspective of him. But what if I'm there all the time, in the same precincts as Swami, that same residence as Swami, we get to see all the things that he does, not just for me, but what does he do to other people? How does he handle others? The great musician can come to Swami. How does he interact with him? This was a great lesson that we all learned at sitting at Swami's feet. We saw so many types of people come. And Swami, I'll come to the next slide. Okay. Swami was a tactful manager. A man manager. He was such a tactful manager. He knew exactly what to tell whom. Which bhajan will impress which politician, he knew that. Okay? He would come and tell the bhajan leaders, right, what to sing. He knew exactly how to get into our heart, straight to the heart. So I thought, in my little way, I will condense all of this divine love that we have been able to experience in Swami's presence in the form of a little, not poem, but something like a poetic verse. Love, I left a gap there to define love. Did he, of his own will, elect? He chose to come and give us this love. Not because of our prayers did he come. He tells us that all the time. Because of your prayers I came. But really, it is out of his infinite grace for all of us that he came down to bless us. Not because of the efforts that we put really. Love did he of his will elect. Not as of duty. He never thought loving us was his duty. Love came naturally to him. Because that was his nature. That was the nature of the Atma. Love, not as of duty, did he of his will elect. With all to connect. He came down to this earth to connect with all of us. But not just to connect. There's another aspect of Swami here. Not just connecting. It's actually to correct us from the path in which we are. And how did he correct? Through fact. Lot of things that Swami said was the absolute truth. Facts. He put facts in front of us that if there's a person who is trained in science, he's going to look at facts and say, these are the facts that Swami has put. And through fact, then the tact. So you can tell the truth, you can tell the fact, but then this tact is when to tell what and how to tell and getting to the heart of the person who is hearing that. But ever, even when telling the truth, that was always a loving act. That, when I saw this, over the 13 years I spent in Swami's immediate presence as a student, and prior to that as a Balvika student, and later as an alumni, and after coming to the US, enormous amount of evidence we have that I can only say so wise and perfect was his loving act. What was it about? It was a heart-to-heart connection. Well, all of you know Radio Sai, so this is not a new phrase for you, heart-to-heart. But this morning, actually, I had only heart-to-heart, but just as I was taking a bath and I was coming out, something just came suddenly, like two words came in, and immediately I went and changed the verse that I wrote. What is that? The path direct. One of the important things that I've seen, observed over all of Swami's life, as we know, is that there was no secretary for him. There was no priest through whom he had to go and impress him. He was there directly for each one of us. All he had to do is to seek him out, and he was there directly to give his attention to all of us, bless us and grace us in so many ways. The path direct. It's a heart-to-heart. Each individual, whoever it may be, rich or poor, whatever be the pair of opposites, everyone had this connection to him. And this, for each one of us, for our life itself, it had a profound impact. This basically condenses the love that we had an experience of as students and lecturers or staff in this college. I'm going to ask a few questions here, just to make it the children here as well, I guess. And so I'm going to ask a few questions. I'm going to sort of like guide this talk along these lines. So let's take a family of rabbits, okay? So there are rabbits, let's say there are two parents, and they've got 4 kids, right? Baby rabbits. A human owner has them, okay? And they are kept in a room. This owner is an animal lover. So not only does she have rabbits, she also has some other animal which can eat these rabbits, and that's a cat, right? She had a lot of cats. She had parrots, they had a horse, a number of animals. So what this cat would do is this: it would wait outside the door, waiting for that opportunity to run into that room and snatch the babies and eat them away. So my question would be, this avatar, right, Sathya Sai avatar who has come down on this earth, we know he is God. But do you think that this God will come and give a solution to this problem? Where this cat is attacking the rabbits inside the room, and how would he save these babies from the attack by the cats? That's the first question. The second question, this is a different world. If I were a student, let's say, practicing science, if I went to Swami and tried to explain to him what an optical interferometer is, would he be interested, first of all? Okay, if he's interested, okay, will he know anything about it? Okay. Is he going to be interested, first of all? And if he's interested, will he understand what I'm going to tell him? Okay, we'll come to that. The third one is this. There is a world conference going on in Puttaparthi. Okay, I registered myself for the world conference. Apart from me, nobody else knows in my family. Okay, and this was in 2000, so I registered for the world conference. I'm a little indisciplined guy. Let me be very honest with you. The earliest opportunity I get to kind of wriggle away from the situation, I will. So I will be a backbencher, and if there's a door nearby, I just walk out of the door. Okay. So my question here is this. It's a world conference. There are so many dignitaries, so many people attending from all over the world. Does it matter to Swami that once I have registered for the world conference, that I will attend the conference? I'm not an important guy, I'm not a VIP. I'm just there as one of the listeners, probably sitting at the outside boundary of the door, right? Just waiting to get out. Does it matter to Swami that I would attend that conference? And if I didn't attend that conference, I signed up for it, I did not attend, what would he do? So the thing that you would see here is that if you sign up, you better attend. That's the lesson that I got. Okay. So the fourth one is, we have seen Swami interacting with Sai Gita, a huge elephant. Then come us, next in size humans, right? Next in size come the deer, and then next in size probably the peacock, the baby deer and so on, and then dogs, right? All of these. Let me extend this a little bit further, right? Okay, these animals, humans, elephant, all big animals. He's God. Would he be having the same love towards the smallest insects? Let's take an ant. Let's take an ant, for example, or in Tamil as you say, pudu puchi, like worms and insects. Will he have the same love for those as well? So these are the 4 questions that we are going to answer in this talk. Hopefully we have time to complete all of this. So the first thing that impressed me was this. This was almost a daily thing that we would see in Swami's presence in Vrindavan. Now Vrindavan, as many of you know, was a place where Swami was seen. We experienced Swami as Krishna. There was a Gokulam nearby. In fact, in the residence of Swami, there's a Gokulam. And for those who may know how this construction of this old bungalow was, Swami's dining room was one end of a kind of like a quadrangle. And from Swami's bedroom, he would get down a flight of stairs, like 3 or 4 stairs. And then there's a corridor linking this part of the building to other part of the building. Now, along that corridor, on both sides of this corridor, there's like a net or mesh kind of thing. And then behind that mesh, and open to the outside, there'll be mesh on the top as well. That was where small, little, beautiful, colorful birds would be there. So as Swami is walking along, you can imagine this. Rama or Krishna or a king of such majesty, just walking along that corridor. Just imagine he walks along that corridor. On both sides, he's got one peacock on one side, then a lot of birds on the other side. And then he would go around the quadrangle and then go to the dining hall. So each one of us in those times, without any favor or or rejection, every one of us had this wonderful opportunity to have individually, like 1 or 2 students, we would go turn by turn and have lunch with Swami, dinner with Swami, or breakfast with Swami. So only Swami would be there, Ramabrahma would be there, or Radha Krishna would be there, and then the student who carries this carrier of food to Swami from the hostel. So that food would be blessed by Swami and would get it back. Sometimes what Swami would do is that Swami will make us eat food in front of him. He will himself serve, will sit there, and Swami will spend like a quality 15, 20 minutes there, and we get to do Pada Seva, like really like massaging Swami's feet. So this is so when we go there, we would see all of this structure there. So he had these birds up there. I joined Swami's college in 1977. So I joined sometime in May or June, and I was a kind of quirky guy at that time, because I came out of Balvikas, you want to get close to Swami and everything, like you want to be the first in the line, you want to get all the chances that you can get. Every Padanamaskaram that you can get, probably 10 a day would be great. That's how it would be. Not one, we won't be satisfied with one, we wanted more chances to be with Swami. So what happened was this. It was my birthday in August, and just before a few days before my birthday, my sisters and parents were living in Bangalore City, so they had a small request for me. On the day of your birthday, when you go to Swami and give chocolates to him, right, ask Swami this question: can we give rabbits to Swami? Now, where did this come from? Right? What connection do I have with rabbits? Right? I don't have any connection with rabbits at all, right? And where did my family get any connection with rabbits? Right? So they asked me to go, they told me to go to Swami and asked me to tell him this. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to let it be there. Let me look at other aspects and then I'll come back to this rabbit story again. Now let's go to the deer that were there. One of the things that I saw every day in Swami's presence, as the cage, on the ground, the cage was built, not upstairs, but for the deer, a cage was built outside in Swami's bungalow there. And Swami would come and then be with the deer. We would be standing outside the cage, all of us, like 100 to 200 of us outside, and we'll be watching Swami do things inside. And I would observe this very, very closely. And this is what the slide is about. So you can see here in the slide, Swami is being helped, assisted by 2 or 3 people behind, who are carrying trays of small little apple pieces. So Swami will start off with showing an apple piece, and one of the deer, let's say, which is bold enough, right, not afraid of Swami, will start to come near Swami. Now you can see behind this particular deer, there are a bunch of deer behind. They would not come right away. They're just testing the waters. They're trying to see what Swami is trying to do. And Swami would get one, right? One would come near, then several would be waiting for their opportunity, right? And then what would happen is that they'll come closer and closer, right? So the fear is basically getting reduced and they're coming towards Swami. Again, you can see how the deer is now stretching its neck. It's afraid, it doesn't want to go near Swami, but it wants to get what Swami is giving it, right? Now let us see what happens after a few minutes. Even the deer with the antlers, right? Now they're not anymore afraid of Swami, they'll come near Swami, right? So all of them will come. See, and see how attentively they're looking at Swami. In fact, if you see this picture here, the kind of like an arch that you see behind is that of Krishna. There's Krishna standing right, Krishna's idol is right behind. But you can see now Swami is sort of like, merged into that same Krishna thing. And you can see how beautiful that is, how the deer are attracted to him. Big, small deer. This is what we would see every day. But here is something that probably we would miss if we don't look very, very closely. What would Swami do? Wonderful. I mean, this is a lesson for life that I learned every day. Not one single day did he violate this principle that I learned from him. To those deer that came near him, he would feed them directly with his hand. Those who came near, he would feed them directly. How close are they to Swami? He would feed them directly into their mouth. But what about the deer that are far away? Whether they're afraid or not doesn't matter. They're far away. Would this God, the universal God, the one who has got this prema for everybody, ignore those deer that are far away? Every time I have seen this, he would take the apple pieces that are on the tray, he would throw it out the farthest deer that is there. For him, nearness or farness did not matter at all. He loved the deer, and there was a lesson that I learned. Every time he threw the apple pieces to the last deer that was there. Never ever ignored them. And those that came near, the lesson is pretty simple. If you seek him out, if you want that opportunity to be close to him, you got that opportunity to be close to him. If you think that, no, I don't want to be, I want to be far away, still his grace is always there for us. That is what divine love is. He does not ignore anybody. He does not say, you're far away from me, so I'm not going to give you the prasadam that I give to people who are nearby. This is a wonderful lesson that I learned. And this kind of like kept me on for a long time. If, for example, Swami talks to somebody and doesn't talk to me, right, I wouldn't feel upset at all. Because I know his grace is always there. So, and see this fawn, right? It was just born there in Swami's ashram there, and Swami was so happy. Look at the happiness on Swami's face, how the divine effulgence is coming through. He's so happy holding that deer. So what does he respond to? As human beings now, is he going to look at, oh, this bhakta is this magnitude, this bhakta is that? No, he doesn't categorize. What does he look at when he talks to us, when he looks at us? He looks at the bhakti within us. He does not look at the bhakta at all. As bhaktas, we may have differences, but if the intensity of bhakti is there, then he is always there to respond to us. I was a student of Bal Vikas. I joined Bal Vikas in 1970. We came to Bangalore from Madras in 1969, and quite soon I joined the Alsur Bal Vikas. One of the things about this Alsur Bal Vikas is this: we were only a train trip away, a passenger train trip away from Whitefield, 3 or 4 stations, and we'd get to Whitefield in no time at all. So we would go quite often to Vrindavan, and Swami would be very, very happy to stand in front of us and then be with us, spending really quality time. So this was a visit in 1974. It was a Sunday visit. I actually had chicken pox just before that. And I was coming to the final stages of the chicken pox, but I could not miss this day because it's a wonderful opportunity to be in Swami's presence. So what I did was I just plucked off all the ugly looking scales and then took it off and then took the train trip to Whitefield and then went for Swami's darshan. And this Alsur Samiti, by the way, Swami had a lot of love for us. In fact, in 1972, when the first summer course was being organized, the pandal or the thatched roof was being put. And we went to Vrindavan, and Swami actually called, Swami is organizing things inside, and Swami called us inside to where the pandal was. And then we went in there, and then Swami said, how many of you come? He had a reason for asking that. And we said 102. And you should see Swami, Jamai, Jamai, this is the word that Swami used. Swami literally like jumped like 102, like, he was so surprised about that. Then what he did was that he gave us a mixture and some sweets, and then he brought a load of clothes, right? And then gave each one of us, according to our size, saw it this way, okay, take it this way, and then take this. And so all 102 of us got this opportunity to get receive clothes from him, and also the prasadam that he gave. And he would also visit the Samadhi quite often. So this was like an ongoing relationship for several years. So this was one occasion, 1974. And you can see Swami here, we're all sitting in Vrindavan, and you can see the canopy of trees. Now, this particular photo, I'm showing this for a very specific reason. Well, I'm there, definitely, because I used to play Kanjira in the Saidam shed before coming here. Like I used to bunk my classes, like cut my classes, Thursday classes, and I would be in Vrindavan. My teachers knew that, when I'm gone on Thursdays, I'm at Vrindavan. Because I used to get an opportunity to play Kanjira in Swami's presence during the Akhanda Bhajans that are there on Thursdays and Sundays. So, in this, you can see me up at the front. I have the Kanjira and I'm playing Kanjira, and Swami is standing there. That particular day, Swami spent almost like 30 minutes with our group. He was simply standing there. We were singing bhajans, as usual, like a normal bhajan, and Swami was there for all the time there. And my sister is also there on the right-hand side, and another sister of mine was a Balvika's guru, and she's sitting behind. But behind all of that, you see a small chair there. There's a chair that was put there. Now, this is an interesting thing behind this chair. So Swami was standing there for so much time. I'm not sure if Swami asked for the chair or if someone else just brought a chair because he was standing for so much time. But that chair, right, had a lot of significance for me. This photograph, the next one that's going to come, has stayed with me in my heart for a very, very, very long time, from 1974 to this day. You can even see the number on the chair, SSC C2. Right? After I joined Swami's college, I tried to search for this chair, but I couldn't find. Everything had changed by the time from 1974 to 1977, things had changed completely. At this time, in 1974, the college was actually in the Kalyana Mandapam that you see today. Right? Everything was inside the campus there. And you can see how we're all so close, and Swami is sitting right in front of us on the chair. Does this chair have a padding? It is a simple wooden chair that was given to the students. This is what students would be sitting on. A student's chair was brought. Swami, the God, the one who started this college, has no problem sitting on this chair that is meant for a student. The problem is so many students would have sat on this chair. This is not a special chair. It was just pulled out of the Kalyan Mandapam and brought there. And Swami just sat. To me, that was God. If he can sit on a chair that has been used by human beings, I'm willing to accept that God has come in human form. That is proof for me of the divine love that Swami has got. So this picture has stayed with me I look at this very, very often. Not because I'm there, but simply because, look at Swami. How he is so comfortable sitting there. He's very comfortable sitting there on the chair, right? Let's go to the next picture here. I took that same picture. I put it here. Now let's see. Right? It's the same Swami. It's the same Swami. We put him on a golden chariot, and he's accepted that. He sat on a chair that was used by all the other students. He had no problem sitting on either one of them. Right? The same Swami. What is it? Dvandvatitam. That means he's beyond the pair of opposites. Right? The self, Swami says in one of his letters, the self has no thought of itself or for itself. He's not looking at what's going to happen to my body. And this was a wonderful thing that we could not have gotten from the scriptures anywhere. This is not said in such a way at all. And Swami says, love is selflessness. That means there's absolutely no body consciousness at all. That is something that's very, very difficult to achieve for us human beings, but we have someone who's showing us the path to get there. And what I was very impressed about Swami, like, what do you mean by impressed about Swami, right? But to me, what attracted Swami to me was that in everything that he did, he was genuine. There are no two things about Swami. Not like internally something and externally something. He was always that same Swami, that same constant adherence to Satya, Dharma, Shanti and Prema. So come back to the rabbits, right? I asked you a question. So will this God of ours, right, come and protect these rabbits that are being attacked by the cats? So out of the blue, my sisters and parents, they asked me to ask Swami. I don't have a picture of all the events, but some are there, so I'll come to that as we go along. So on my birthday, I took chocolates, I took a garland, I garlanded Swami, and Swami took the chocolates and then threw it around. And then as Swami moved a little bit on the side of the bungalow, that hall, the building there, I ventured out to Swami and said, Swami, I want to give you rabbits. Because my sisters told me, I better do it, right? Whatever they said, I would do it. That's exactly how it was. One of my sisters asked me to go ask Swami, was he Shiva or Shakti in Shirdi Baba's avatar? I went and asked Swami that, right? Also, Swami, one of my sisters said, when you get your first interview in Prashant Nilayam, because Swami had told my father and mother in another interview that whenever you come to Puttaparthi, I'll give you an interview. So on the first trip to Puttaparthi, my father, myself, and my mother went. And in that, Swami gave it. It was so dramatic the way in which he did, but I don't have time to go through all of that because the theme here is slightly different. And so when I went in there, I told Swami, all Akka Kalan grace. That's exactly how I was a small, tiny daughter at that time. And I said, Swami, Akka Kalan grace. That is like Anugraham. And you know what Swami said? Swami put his hand on my head and said, Purna Anugraham. Not just Anugraham, Purna Anugraham. And so to this day, Swami has taken care of all my sisters, my mother, and my wife and my son Kira. So all the 9 of us have been in Swami's orbit for all this time. So this day when I told Swami about rabbits, Swami joked, look, the way in which he does things is this. He has planned it. There's a master plan behind all of this, right? And Swami said, yeah, get the rabbits. In Tamil he said, get the rabbits, put one under his pant, put one under his pant, and who are these people? Gokak, Kasturi, and then Rupak, right? Swami said, put one rabbit under each one of them. Swami just laughed it away, then went off. So I thought, okay, this is just a joke, forget it. And this is not serious for me. But what happened was this, about a week passed, I think maybe 10 days or 2 weeks passed, then Sudarshan, who is the warden of our hostel, right, he came to me one day and said, hey, what happened to you? You said to Swami that you're going to get rabbits. What happened? Are you getting the rabbits? No, one thing with Sudarshan is that he would never ask anything. He would never say a word unless Swami has said something. Okay? So he came and asked, like, what happened to the rabbits you told Swami about? So immediately I said, I'll ask my parents, okay, and I conveyed the news to them. And then a day was fixed. Swami agreed to that day, and then the rabbits were brought to Swami. Away from the cats, saved from the cats. Okay, the owner of the animals, right? She came along with the rabbits, and then my father, my sisters were with Swami, and we had already arranged. Swami had said, yes, be there. He asked us to stand outside the residence. There's a small little pathway there you can see behind, like go behind Swami towards the hostel, and you'll see Swami had asked us to stand there. So as Swami came out for darshan, he said, I'll go to darshan and come back. And when Swami came back from darshan, he asked me what had happened, because this had to be transported by the passenger train that I was talking about before. So these rabbits would jump out of the basket. So they had tied a little ribbon to the basket. So in this basket, there were 6 rabbits. So because it was tied with this ribbon, I had scissors in my pocket ready to go and cut it. So as soon as Swami said, open it, so I went, I cut it. You can see me actually putting the scissors back into my pocket there. So I'm standing there, the black pant. In those days, there was no whites. You could wear black pants, you could wear any colored pants, bell bottoms. We had all the hippie bell bottoms that we could wear those in Swami's presence. So I'm putting the scissors back in my pocket behind Swami. So this is a blood picture where, because Swami is moving as the picture was taken, so Swami is holding the rabbit in his hand, and he had taken one out of the 6, one of the 4 baby rabbits he had taken in his hand, and he is coming in. Now, this was a majesty, this was the beauty of this avatar, that Krishna, right, holding this rabbit and walking. I can still recollect that, the way in which Swami walked with this rabbit. In Tamil we say endikadu, that means like, with respect and with love, you do like this. And that's what it was. So, the world may drive you nuts, the world may drive you mad, right? The world will try to kill you, but if you have Swami's grace, he will just pull you from wherever you are, and you will be drawn to him. Our lives will be saved. These rabbits were saved by Swami. And where did they were chased by the cats. The next that I'm going to tell you, they got the heaven of heavens upstairs with Swami, where the cages were. These 6 rabbits got to stay with Swami up there. They went directly up to Swami's, upstairs. And you can see how Swami is like bringing that, and Swami later on autographed this photo for me. One thing here, in the student community, Swami would call each one of us not so much by our names. Swami will say band boys, he'll say bhajan boys, then he'll say Vedam boys, then he'll say bookstall boys, Gokulam boys. I think there are a lot of us, and I think I can make a small little claim here, right? There's only one rabbit boy. Because Swami would refer to me later on as a rabbit boy. Look here, I had nothing to do with rabbits. All that I did was I conveyed to Swami that, somebody wants to give rabbits, and all this happened. And Swami would say, like, oh, rabbit boy. He would not mention names, and so Swami is bringing this. Swami later on autographed this. I'm standing behind Swami there. And you can see in these rabbits, they have a ribbon around them. That's the first day. Only the first day when this was given to Swami, presented to Swami, they had ribbons. My sisters, in their devotion for Swami, in that enthusiasm for Swami, they put ribbons on each one of those with bells, little bells, and it was beautiful to see. And Swami is carrying this and walking into Vrindavan. That is from the outside of the gate there. Swami is passing the gate and coming in, and you can see how lovingly Swami is holding. Look at the picture behind Swami. The cages are still being built. The deer have not come yet. This is a master plan, right? The deer have not come. They are going to come. A cage is being built for them. You can see the laborer that is standing behind Swami, that lady who is standing behind. It's still being built. There is no space made for rabbits then. So these rabbits went straight up to Swami's quarters up there. And see him. Driven by the cats, they are now up against the cheek of Swami, right? Should we thank the cats now for driving them towards Swami? So this is a great lesson for me, that the world may drive you in a certain direction, that into danger it may drive you. You may think that you have lost your life, there's no hope, but there is God. There is a God. He will take care of us. Okay, He will be with us. And you can see the ribbon of this very clearly. Swami is holding such love for these rabbits. So, God does exist. Why fear when He is here? Devudu Unnadu. It was Guru Purnima 1986. Many of you may remember this discourse. I like listening to Swami's discourses very, very carefully. Sometimes I would in fact go away from the mad rush to go near Swami, but sit outside and listen carefully to what Swami was saying. This particular day, I was really surprised when Swami said that Devudu Unnadu is a mantra. He's giving a mantra for all of humanity. He's saying this is the mantra. This is a 5-letter Panchakshari mantra. You don't need any other mantra than this on this Guru Purnima. Devudu Unnadu. I was like, okay. The very fact that I'm sitting there in Prashant means that I accepted him as God. I'm sitting there with the fact. So I thought this is a trivial thing. What is this mantra then when it's so trivial that he's just saying God exists? Nothing more. It took me several years to understand that potent mantra, God exists. In fact, is what is a savior for us. You can take this God exists in different ways. God exists, why fear when I'm here? God exists, watch out. God exists. He knows everything that you do, right? Watch out in what you're doing. Deva Priti, Papa Bhiti, Sanganiti, right? He is watching you, so better behave in a way that he would like. Devudu Unnadu. Okay, I can accept that. But I was not convinced of one thing. I was not convinced that that God who exists loves me. He may love everybody else, but does he really love me? So we'll come to this a little bit later on. So God exists, why fear when he's here? Now, there are a few more photographs of these rabbits. You can see how in so many poses Swami is holding these rabbits so close to his heart, right? So I became a rabbit photo collector. So, see how close to his face he's holding them. So, I'll leave this blank for now. So these rabbits, there's a certain characteristic about rabbits. When you have two parents, they multiply pretty fast. The babies multiply pretty fast, these rabbits. They would have a litter of 20 or 30. But the problem with rabbits is you can go on the internet and see how it is. When they're born as a ball of flesh, basically. And you should not try to feed them anything because they cannot tolerate the gas that is produced. They will die out of that. So out of these 20, say, only a few will survive. Not all of them will survive. They are with Swami now, right? These parents are with Swami now. There was a litter of several rabbits. Krishna Jayanti, the day Krishna Jayanti in 1977 was the day when Swami created that kaustubam, right? That he wore, that he showed, the kaustubam that was worn by Krishna on that day. Before the discourse, I was sitting along with the students elsewhere, and Swami came by, and Swami asked me this question, just out of the blue. How do you feed the rabbits? And look, I just gave you the rabbits, okay? I don't know all this, right? But what had happened was this. And imagine, Swami is asking me, how do you feed the rabbits? But there was some information that I had. So I said, Swami, as far as I know, you have to take an ink filler. This is exactly what I said. You have to take an ink filler, and then you have to take milk, cow's milk, right? You take the milk in the ink filler, and then you feed the baby rabbit with that ink filler. Swami heard that. That came the reply from Swami. Just like that, in 1 second, one jiffy. In the forest, who feeds them? Just like that, in 1 second, I tell you. Just a second, he asked, in the forest, who feeds them? You can see here, who feeds them? Look at how Swami is bending down to feed the rabbits. He himself, God himself, is bending down to feed the rabbits. There you go, one other picture. By this time the cage had been built. You can even see the root of the sort of like a cave there for the rabbits to play around, to go around. You can see that. And Swami is bending down to feed each one of these rabbits. And then he's holding them in his hands and looking at them lovingly. So there is a God, God exists, right? And he does take care of the rabbits. Who feeds them in the forest? So let's not forget the other question I asked. Will he apply the same criteria or the same love to an ant as well? Will he make sure that the ant gets its food? Okay, we'll come to that. I'm changing track here a little bit. Okay, this was in 1978. This was a great lesson that I learned with Swami. It was like this. As Swami is doing certain things, each action, there are a lot of lessons that you can learn from Swami. What happened that morning was, this was during Dasara time, before the Yajnam started, the first day of the Yajnam where Swami would actually give a discourse from the silver door. You may have seen the silver door during Christmas time. Swami will stand on that little parapet wall there, and Swami is like a little balcony. It's just not got any protection at all. There's just about, say, 6 inches of, like piers, like standing there, and you could fall off that pretty easily. There's only space for a few people on that. Okay. And to my knowledge, this even, the way in which it happened has never happened before or after that. What happened was, we were all eating in the canteen or we're going about trying to get ready for the morning's function. Suddenly Swami sent a word for Vedam boys. So each one, whoever it is, ran, and we rushed to the interview room one by one. Nobody knew as a group that we were going, because in those days there were not too many Vedam boys. Right? A few of us, in fact, we didn't know much of Vedam at all. Only 3 things we knew. Okay, in Sikshavali, that Vedamana convocation chant we knew. Then we knew Purusha Suktam and Narayana Suktam. These 3, that's all. Om Ganananta, that's it. This is all we knew, nothing else. This was in 1978. So Swami called us inside. So I was one of the 6 people who managed to get into the door. The door was shut after that. Each one had gone individually. And what do you see there when you go there? Kyalas was, somebody was standing, I'm not sure if it was Kyalas at that time. He said, Swami's upstairs, Swami, go upstairs. So the 6 of us went upstairs to Swami, and Swami was sitting in a sofa with just 2 or 3 people around him. One was Karinyananda, another one was Kamalgani, and then Kutum Rao, and then of course Bhagavantam. So 4 people. So they're there. So Swami is sitting regally, in that sofa of us. It's a small room, but Swami was sitting there. So we went and stood in front of him, and 6 of us. Then Swami said, after some time, like talking for some time with the elders, then Swami said, okay, you all go outside. So we are coming out of this room right above the interview room. And if you come out of that interview, we'll come to this kind of the balcony, which is where Swami would see the whole crowd. The silver door is dead in the center of that balcony there. So Swami came out and said, you're all going to chant Vedam today. And then he said, no, like the father, you want to call him mother, whichever way you want to say it, that's fine. He made us stand in a row. So he made sure that we're all like arranged in height. The shortest guy to the tallest guy, he made a thing. And then what he did was that he came, checked our shirts, he pulled like this, and he looked at our scarves. In those days we used to wear several scarves. He just made sure we were all spick and span, the way in which we looked, made sure we all stood nicely. And then he also told us the order in which we will stand. So he said, you 3 will stand in the front, and you 3 will stand behind. So the taller guys were asked to stand behind. You will see why Swami was telling that. And then this is something that I saw. I was reminded of what we read in Amar Chitrakatha, right? We see these pictures of Rama or Krishna and Amar Chitrakatha, right? You see the palace doors and so on. And Swami has to go and give darshan, right? Swami has to come through the silver door. So what Swami did was this. He went along the balcony, sort of looking, skimming over the crowd like that. Kind of like getting a pre-glance at where he should go. And then he went, and then I thought Kutumbra was standing there. Kamalgani is there, Karinanda is there, Bhagavantam is there. Any one of the 4 would go in front of Swami and open the door for him. No. Swami went like this. There are 2 crossbars on that silver door behind. This is how I saw Swami. He held like this, those crossbars, and opened the door himself with no help from anybody. That is divinity. We're all standing beside him, but he did not ask for anyone of our help. He went there himself, opened the door. I still remember how he opened that heavy door. He opened it and then came out of the silver door for giving darshan. And then what happened is this. Swami called us to chant Vedam. That day we chanted Narayana Suktam. So there are 6 of us here. There's one person you probably don't see here. He's actually behind, whom all of you are very familiar with. Everyone here should be familiar with. He's standing in the last row, behind there. He's to the left there. You'll see in a minute who he is. So there are 6 of us there. Some faces you can identify. Ravi Kumar is there. Then Shivshankar Sai is there. Devson is there. I was there behind. Bhimeshwar Sharma. And the other person whom you all know, Vednarayan. He's behind. So the 6 of us are there. And Swami, as we were chanting Narayana Suktam, he was chanting along with us, the Narayana Suktam. Every one of the things, the verses that we're singing, chanting, Swami was chanting along with us. And after that, we got our Pada Namaskar, and you can see how there's really not much space there. Just 6 of us could fit in just enough to be in that little balcony there. And here's the thing, what did I learn on that day? This is a lesson for life. So we came, after the program was over, discourse was over, Swami brought us back to that same room where he was sitting before. And then Kamaldani is massaging Swami's feet. On the other side, Karuninanda. Swami was teasing these 2 great devotees of Swami. You know, Swami has this kind of like a closeness to them. Swami was teasing them. I won't go into the details because of lack of time. So Swami teased them. Then he looked at all of us, then started teasing us. So he said that, he asked Kamavdani, would you be willing to teach these boys Vedam? Until then, Kamavdani had not taught us. That's the first day when Swami brought up this idea of Kamavdani, teaching us Vedam. And Swami looked at us, and while he told them, he looked at each one of us, Nu chestava, like that. And then Swami said, if I ask you to shave your heads, like go without hair, will you do? So each one of us was like coming one after another. Then came my turn, and then Swami asked, Nu chestava. Yes, Swami, I said. Ye Hare Rama, Hare Krishna unka, if you go there, kottanu, Swami said. They got Hare Rama, Hare Krishna Purmi, right? So they have this stuffed thing. So that's Swami is saying that you're going to shave your head. So will you do that? And when I said yes, he said, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, if you join that, I'll beat you. Now look at Swami's thing, right? The way in which even he jokes becomes a reality later on. Much later, this was in 1978. I was in Boston, right, in 1994, sometime like that, 94, 95, 96 when I was at MIT. And not knowing that there was a Satya Sai center in Boston, right, I tried to seek any contact at all with our spiritual background from India. And the only place I could find out was the ISKCON center in Boston. So I said, let me go to ISKCON center. Now I already passed out of the college and came out, so it didn't strike me what Swami had said. I went to ISKCON. I kept on going. Why did I go there? One attraction, Sunday, free food. That's what I went for. Because I was a bachelor at the time. Priya had not joined me by then, right? And so I was basically, a bachelor fighting for food. I don't want to cook my food, but no vegetarian food around. So where do you go? Tasteless or not, ISKCON food is what I landed up for. So I went to the Sunday sessions. And I kept on going. Suddenly one day what happened, a thought came to me, maybe I should start chanting Vishnu Sahasranamam in the sanctum there. So I started going at 4:30 in the morning. Somehow I walked there to the ISKCON center there, and I believe that was the first center that was opened by Swami Prabhupada, that Boston center. So I got to sit there and started chanting. One day it struck me, remember that day in 1978, he said, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, and you joined, kottanu. That's it. Once I remembered that, I just stopped. And I stopped and I came out and I said, no, this is what, even a joke, he knows exactly what's going to happen later on. While I appreciate everything that they do, but here are Swami's prediction of what is going to come. But on this day, he said something very, very important. And this is really crucial for every one of us. What did he say? He said, I like the Vedam chanting that all these boys did. Endukante ahamkaram ledu. They do not have ahamkaram. That is why I like the chant. That stayed in my heart forever. If ever we pick up a talent, if ever we are good at anything, do not take credit for it. Do not let the ego come in the way or in between you and Swami. That ego is the problem. And how do we please him now? If I want to please him with my Vedam, I should not be egoistic about the Vedam that I have learned. In a different discourse elsewhere, the Swami has said how panditry actually comes in between God and you, that ego is the big problem. So I learned a very good lesson that day, and it is still in my head that you can chant the Vedas, but if you have ego, then the effect of that is completely gone. You're not going to have all the benefits of that chanting. How was student life in Swami's institutions? If you take all the experiences of all the students, one thing was pretty clear. Every time Swami asked a student, where are you from? They would give answers. Then we got a little bit smarter. Swami, we came from you. One would say, well, you are in our, where is Swami? They'll say, heart. Then Swami would not be that very pleased. And then, where do we come from? They'll say, we came from you, Swami. But the only answer that seemed to please him, only answer, no other answers pleased him, was that when you said, God is everywhere. Where is Swami? Everywhere. Now he likes that. So that was the truth. God is everywhere. So the hostel students or students who stayed with Swami had one thing, behind every action that we did. We really did not do study circles or anything like that, but one thing, in our activities, in whatever we did, whatever form of activity we took, sports, whatever we, Gokulam, anything, bhajans, or speeches, anything we took, it was always centered on Swami. We would bring Swami to center stage, always in everything that we did. So what happened was this verse from the Gita, even though it's Sanskrit, I'm putting it out there, because this simply signifies in one verse what the students did. Yet karoshi, yet asnashi, yet juhoshi dadasyat, yet tapasyasi kaunteya, tatkurushva madarpanam, sai arpanam. So this is what the students did. Why did Swami have so much of love for us? We did not have this ego. We did not think twice about doing the best for Swami. And this is where the whole student community came together. Our one goal for us was that make Swami happy. That's all it was. So we did all our activities as a community, as a whole community, not individuals per se, as an offering to Swami. So this becomes an arpanam or samarpanam when we do all these activities with gratitude and love for Swami. That's the key thing. That's why we got this opportunity to be close to Swami in his presence. Now let me come to this. I asked you another question, right? If I were to go and tell Swami about my optical interferometer, will he be interested? As I told you, I was a very indisciplined guy. And the second thing was that I would never approach Swami for anything. Well, it's a fear of rejection. Because what if Swami doesn't answer me? Then in front of the whole crowd, I look like a loser, basically, right? So that's probably one thing. But anyway, I would not approach Swami for anything. But if he came to me and if he said something, and then I would respond to him. Sometimes later on, Swami would come and ask in such a wonderful way, "How are you, sir?" Swami would ask. "How are you, sir?" I mean, God telling sir. It used to be so, you can't believe that Swami is saying. What do you tell him? When he says, "How are you, sir?" all you can do is to put your hands together and simply look at him. There's nothing, no answer you can give him. So this was one day where we had a very, very interesting guest. This was 1987. There was an all Andhra Sadhu Parishad, like a conference of sadhus. Okay, you can see it in Sanatana, there's a photograph of all the 300 sadhus who had come to, sadhus and sadhinis who had come to Swami. This was in January 1987. Now, suddenly with Swami, it's like this. When we are in the hostel in the college, we don't know when he is going to come and visit us, whether it's a hostel or college. He may come at any time. Suddenly, while we were in the college that day, we got news that Swami is coming to the college. And whom did he bring along with him? You probably are aware, right? That Swami brought that head of the sadhus, right? His name is Bhumananda, and Swami brought Bhumananda. Imagine this. Swami is bringing a hardcore sannyasi to a university to show him this is my university, right? So he brings Bhumananda with him. And Swami had climbed the stairs, and because this was a totally unannounced visit, it was not planned for, there were not too many people around Swami. So when Swami walked on the corridor, the upstairs corridor, as Swami was walking, I was standing near the physics lab. There were not too many people around, so I was standing there. As I said, I would never venture out to ask Swami anything. But that day, this is how it has always happened. If he wants something done, he'll prompt it from inside. I would be roaming around somewhere late for everything. If I had to get selected for Bhajagovindam, somehow on that particular day, I'll be there early. How did I get into those 6 that got in there? There were several who were left over. Because that particular day, for some reason, I got up early, ate my breakfast fast, and I was there. I can't believe that the door closed after that. Right? Somehow Swami would make this happen. So that particular day, a prompting came. I just went forward. I don't know what pushed me from inside. I went to Swami and said, "Swami, I want to show you my experiment." So I was a research scholar at that time. I was doing my PhD at that time. I said, "Swami, I want to show you my experiment." Swami didn't answer. Rejected, right? No response at all. To me, he's got this wonderful filter around his head, right? And then the crown of hair. There's a perfect filter because no untruth gets in there. Only truth gets in there, right? Nothing. So I thought that, okay, That means this is not happening today, because if he didn't respond, that means he probably didn't hear, so this filter took it off. Whatever I said is gone out of the Swami's head. And Swami went to physics lab. So I gave up. I said, okay, a lot of people behind him, the vice chancellor, registrar, controller of examination professors, all are going behind. So I said, stand out. So there were 3 doors actually, through which you had to cross in order to go to the inner lab. And Swami went to the inner lab. I stayed behind on at the third door. And Swami had stayed there for quite a while, and Swami came back from there, coming out of the lab. I said, forget it, no chance at all of Swami, seeing this experiment, great experiment of mine. But there was this thing in my heart somewhere that, as I said, Yat Karoshi Dasnashi, right? Whatever we did, that was for Swami. To me, in my world, whatever I did, whatever science experiment I did, was also for me as an individual, my own personal taste, that where I saw Swami. So this was very important for me, that I wanted to show Swami this experiment. So Swami was coming out. When I had given up all hope that he would see the experiment that day, Swami looked at me and said, Chapaway, you said that you want to show an experiment. Where is it? So Swami said, it's inside. So now see how the whole thing turned around. Everybody came out. Swami dashed to the room. Only 3 of us are left inside the lab now. Nobody else. Everybody who came with him, all are left outside. Right? Only 3 of us. This was the table that you would see. This is what Swami saw. This is the experimental table that Swami saw. So the way in which it is that, you can see the laser on the left-hand side. You see a box there that was donated by an Australian. Okay, Australian devotee. A helium neon laser with the Prashanti symbol inscribed on that in 1987. That was a great devotion of people who came to Swami. They knew that this university had to be helped along this path for Swami. And so they did so much of great work. To have a helium neon laser in those days, with the stamp of Prashanti on that requires devotion and dedication to Swami. There was another Canadian, I still would like to know who he was on his address. He brought me what is called as a piece of film. He just rolled a little bit of piece of film for $15 or so, put it in a suitcase and came. My research was done based on that piece of film. That's what you see there, there's a piece of film there. There's a sort of like a flat thing that you see there. Let's come to what I did that day. The Swami came in, I was standing here, so I was standing here where the laser is, I'm facing Swami. Swami is standing beside me, approximately where the piece of film is, and who's the other person over there? I said, Bhumananda. The sannyasi was on the other side, right? This is what happened. I stood, Swami stood, Bhumananda stood. Stood. Silence. Swami said, Champu. You called me here for saying, Champu, sir. Once Swami gave that kind of like a go ahead, there I was. I did not have any hesitation. I started with the helium neon. This is exactly how fast I went. There's a helium neon laser. It emits red light at 633 nanometers. It comes to a beam splitter. It gets split at the beam splitter. One arm of it goes over the piece of film. The fibers, it gets injected in the fiber. That fiber goes on the piece of film. When the piece of film contracts and the phase of the light changes, then they get recombined at the end of the interferometer. I said Mach-Zehnder interferometer. I remember that very clearly. I said Mach-Zehnder interferometer. And once the light gets combined, a fringe pattern is formed. And you see the bright spot on that screen there? That is a fringe pattern. I thought I'd gone too far. Here is Swami, right? Swami in his discourse says Chatta Chadu, right? And here I'm telling Swami about all this. And the person who's standing beside Swami is Bhumananda. But anyway, I had emptied all my knowledge to Swami that day. Right? Everything that I knew about an interferometer, I gave Swami, right? And I stopped. I thought that's enough. He saw the pattern. That's beautiful helium neon hyperbolic pattern, hyperbolic shaped pattern. I used to have great fun looking at this with the lights off in the lab and enjoy this, this beauty of the interference fringes. And so Swami had seen that. This is what happened. Bhumananda cannot understand the English that I spoke. Swami, believe it or not, Swami, whatever I said, he exactly repeated what I said to Bhumananda in Telugu. Exactly the same words. He said, this comes out like this. Okay, now you would say, okay, Swami, I know one thing for sure. Because of the purity of how Swami, his actions and words and thoughts, he's got an excellent memory capacity. excellent in all his senses where he can hear everything very, very clearly. So Swami is staying right beside me. So he heard everything clearly. You can now say, dismiss it off and say, oh, he heard clearly, photographic memory, he's sort of dumping it on Bhumananda. But this is what happened. He came to the point where the decombination was done and the fringe pattern was seen. Then he added something, because I had stopped there, I know I stopped there. And he added this after that. In that box, that black box that is there, I want to ask anyone in this audience, would you know what's in that box? There's one box, like a black box. And Swami said, in that box, the light is converted into electricity, electrical, he said, and then that goes to the wire to the spectrum analyzer that says, he said computer. It goes to the computer for processing. This is exactly what he said. I gave up. If anybody can figure out that there is the photo detector inside the box, he cannot, from where Swami is seeing, that's what he's seeing. Exactly the black box is what he's seeing. Would any of us know what's inside the black box? Now let me give you another view of the same setup here. Now if you see the black box on the other side, you see the white kind of like a circular thing there on the box. Inside that in the center is a tiny little photodiode. That photodiode converts, it accesses this fringe pattern and it takes that light and converts it into an electrical signal. That goes to a preamp and then goes to an amplifier and then goes for signal processing and advanced to spectrum analyzer. Okay, I gave up and then I got a little bit more confidence. I told Swami, that day in your discourse, you talked about signal processing. I'm doing that. What was this discourse about? When Swami is trying to explain to the crowd in Purnachandra that the way in which we should access Swami or God is that we have tuned into his frequency. And Swami is giving the example of, really speaking, heterodyne communication. That's exactly what it was. But he had used the word electromagnetic waves, so he had used the word jyotir waves. In a way, that's light wave and it's an electromagnetic wave. And Swami said that. I remember having, after the discourse where he explained this, to me, as a scientist or as an engineer, what Swami explained there was what is called as either heterodyne mixing or super heterodyne mixing. Okay. I remember remarking to a few of my friends, whatever Swami said about this communication, electrical communication engineering, is lost on this whole crowd there. There are 20,000 people sitting in this Purnachandra auditorium. I think 4 of us would have got this, what Swami was saying. I remember that conversation where I discussed. So that day, when Swami was beside me, I told Swami, what you said in the discourse that day, I'm actually implementing that here, because that is what all of these detection schemes are about. That the same thing where you have to extract a signal from noise. How you mix it, the two beams are mixed and then you get this. And Swami turned as I said that I'm doing what you were saying. I don't know how I got the boldness to say that to Swami. And Swami turned around. That was that one moment of what I would say is Brahmanandam, because in that moment, there's a mixture of emotions. It is undefinable. In that one moment where he is this close, he just turns like this, he looks at me, I look at him, and after that 1 second of look, Swami says, Chesko, Padnamaskar, Chesko. So I had my Padnamaskar, Swami went that. Much later, when I was working at the Hanscom Air Force Base, and Swami had told me through other means, so he said, I will stand with you and do all your experiments with you. And Swami kept up that in a very, very big way. So, academics, research. In fact, I should say that Swami was more interested in research than anybody else I had seen in the university. He would come to me and ask, what's your research topic? And I would say optical fibers, and he'll joke. He'll say, take the optical fiber and then wind your body with it. Basically, wind yourself with that thing. Many of you may know that I used to have leg pain at that time, right? And Swami was joking about Swami saying, tie yourself up with this optical fiber. Which means he knew what an optical fiber looked like, right? He knows that it's in the form of a strand, right? If he knows that he's going to sort of wind it around, he knows that the optical fiber is like a strand. But nobody told him that, right? That's where, when I heard it, I knew that, Swami does not show it out, but he's the source for all of our academics. So we can even, sort of do arpanam of that learning as well to Swami. I want to change track here a little bit again. How much time? 10 minutes, okay. I will change the track here a little bit. So many of you will be wondering that, when we are with Swami, yes, Swami does all these things. What happens when you come out of Swami's institution, right? And what would happen then? At least in my case, the way in which it worked out was this, that there was this continuity of Swami's blessings in a very different way. In the year 1998, 1 year after my son Aksharan was born, we went to Puttaparthi, and I had this Akshara in my hand, sort of wrestled with Akshara. Swami looked at him, Swami looked at me, but did not put the Akshara on him. One day passed, next day we sat there again, Swami again saw him and me, did not put the Akshara on him, and Swami passed. So we came back. I was a little bit disappointed that Swami had not done this. To us, it's a little act, right? But he just has to take rice grains like this and put it on your head. That's all done, right? What does Swami lose by just taking, just be nice to me, right? Just taking, I'll be happy, right? That's what it is. But one thing I'd also known that whenever he doesn't do something, there's some purpose behind it. So I knew that I had to take it in the right spirit. So we came back to the US, right? Actually came back to the US with us. And this was sometime in, say, July, August. And sometime in October 1998, Swami came in my dream. This is a very, very different kind of dream for me. And it was almost like a vision. So myself and some other Muslim boy, we are standing outside in a quadrangle, like doing a physical drill. And as we're doing, what happened, we come back to the home. And as I come back to the quarters there, on the cot that is there in the house, this is like a dream. So the cot, Shirdi Baba is sitting there. So as soon as I see Shirdi Baba sitting on the cot, I go and then touch Shirdi Baba's feet. But when I go and touch Shirdi Baba's feet, the feet have changed. I see the red robe of Swami there. And it is alive. That it's not like an idol or anything. When I'm touching that in the dream, this was like a vision. Like I got up and as I hold Swami's feet there, I shout now to everybody, like my family around, that Swami has come, come. And so as they come, the dream just goes off. I got up, this was like early in the morning, the Brahma Muhurtam time. I got up and I didn't know the significance of this. Around the same time, in my sister's dream, Prema's dream in Bangalore, Swami came in the dream and said, don't worry, because he had not done this Akshara, right? Don't worry, I will do a lot of things, much more than what you can aspire for. This was in her dream. So around December 1998, started a phase of unbelievable leelas. I would not call them miracles. To me, those are expressions, intense expressions of love. 24x7, if you were to have an interview, how would you like it? 24x7. It went on for many years. Everything. Sai actions, clothes, Swami would put Akshara on them. Swami would do so many, everything about Sai action was taken care of by Swami. Every little thing, all the time while we were in the US. All the time while we were in the US. Every little thing that happened here, Swami knew. There are so many things that, that Swami gave me a job. We all talk about placement, right? Here was a chancellor who made sure I got placed right. While I'm not in Prashantalayam anymore, I'm here. Swami placed me in Carving Incorporated. That in itself is a long story, but I wouldn't go into that. But Swami had taken so much care of everything that we did. And how did he do this? Though we don't have time to go through this, I'll just talk about this letter here. So this is what would happen. Because this is an aspect or a dimension that not many people are aware of. This has happened in many devotees' houses. I have heard from many. It so happened that when Swami started the Leelas in Bangalore, right, in our house, that Swami would do some of these things, like Vibhuti, Kumkum, then Amritam and so on. Then Swami slowly started doing other things. What would happen is this: if you're having a conversation in the house, suddenly a chit would fall, and that chit would have a response or something that he had to say about that particular instant of time when you're talking about. It's almost like he's there, but you can't see him. He's there, and he will respond to that. These chits will fall here and there, and he will tell my mother. My mother had this wonderful, blessing from Swami, where she could basically interact with Swami. And Swami will tell her things, and she will convey that to us, what we should do. And Swami would say, no, I put a chit there, and if you go there, there will be a chit. And you know where the chit would be? In the kind of like a holding up in the wall, like near the roof, somewhere behind the trunk, Swami would have put a chit there. And if you take it and look there, they will be relevant to what's going on at that time. So, one day what my father did was this. Well, Swami is picking up these chits and writing, with a pen or something. So he thought that, okay, why not we get a pad for Swami and we'll put a pen as well for Swami. So what he did was this. I don't have we don't have time here, but I'll just give you this kind of like a window into what Swami did. So he is calling up my sister. Her name is Jayashri. Father at home, retired, he's calling Jayashri and telling, why don't you get a Reynolds board plus pen from Avenue Road in Bangalore? This was, I think, there's a time actually. My father used to record all the timings. What happened which day. He was an accountant. He would record all of these timings and we could put them in sequence. It is so beautiful to know what Swami did. And he had called it around 11 o'clock or so. 5 minutes later, Swami writes this letter, this chit falls here. Let me read this. This is Tamil, okay? Eduvum vaanga vendam endru sonneen. And if you can read that. Eduvum vaanga vendam endru sonneen. That means, I told you not to buy anything. Panathai salavikkadirgal. Do not spend money. Okay? And then he says, pena vendam. I don't want pen. Okay, pena vendam. Do not need a pen. Right? Yen virale pena. My finger is my pen. Naan ezhuven, that I will write with my finger. And written in English, your God. This is only a little window into what Swami was. Unfortunately, I don't have time, but some other day, can do. But the thing was this, I talked about the ants, right? Does he have that same love for an ant? So, do we have 5 minutes? Okay. So what I'll do is I'll skip some of these things and I'll go to that particular thing. Oh, here again, one of the leelas is what Swami did. Swami actually dressed up the Shirdi Baba with a beard. Oh, this is wonderful. This is fantastic. I mean, there's so much behind this. But unfortunately, we don't have time to go through these some other day somewhere. That's how Swami had put beard, like it's made out of cotton. Swami had put that, all by himself, by the way. We would not go into the room. Just let Swami do whatever he wants and you go and enjoy the beauty of it and see the fantastic beard, the way in which it, and by the way, towards the end of that full beard, that cotton was filled with vibhuti. Completely, you see on the left-hand side, there's so much of vibhuti that is there, completely filled with vibhuti. And then Swami said, you dust the beard. After a few days, he took the beard off and kept it aside and said that you dust the vibhuti and take it. All of you take it. Now, I want to say this. We were in America at that time. My son, myself, and Priya were in America. And there were my parents and my sisters. So 6 of them there, 3 of us here. To every one of us by name, he had written a letter at one point or other. To every one of us he would write. Every function day, when Swami is so very, very held up with so many activities there, Swami will write a letter. En Sudarshanatthukku Aashirvadam. En Sudarshan Kudumbathukku Aashirvadam. And when? Mahashivratri day. On Mahashivratri day, Swami would write a letter saying that En Sudarshanatthukku Aashirvadam. Or Sudarshan family, Kudumbathukku Aashirvadam. There's so many things that Swami has done, just impossible to cover all of that. But one thing I want to talk about is this ants thing that I told about. Let me come to that letter because let me skip all of this. This is, okay. This is something that happened in the puja room there. So father was a very devoted person. He's a strict disciplinarian as well. He knew how to do all these pujas, right? Now what happens when you have Amritam coming from Swami's photograph? You know that on the Shirdi Baba statue, ants would come, right? So he saw the ants coming into the room. So he got an idea. What is that? Lakshman Rekha. Lakshman Rekha is a poisonous paint that you put, like a chalk piece thing, a poison thing. So he went and got this Lakshman Rekha thing, and then what he did was all along the path where the ants would go, he put this Lakshman Rekha stuff. There it was, and a letter from Swami. By the way, it's dated 20th March 1999. And the way in which Swami would write this is that sometimes he would say Sai Ram, sometimes he would sign off as Asarir, and sometimes he would just leave it unsigned. Here he's saying Asarir, Asharir, that means not in the body form. That's how it starts. Asharir, that means he's telling who he is. Yen Sannidhiyil, in my Sannidhi, Oramaga, Vishamarand Talavigirigal. You are putting Vishamarand, poison, along the edges, Oramaga, okay, Yen Sannidhi, my Sannidhi, it's my sanctum sanctorium, you are putting this poison along there. Nan, whoosh, என்று காற்று மூலமாக வருவேன். I will come in the form of the air, that blast of air, that breeze of air. I will come into your home. And Swami had actually confirmed many times that he was there, in the room there, listening to all of it. There's so much that I can't, put it all in one hour talk. But this just to give you a gist of it. His love for ants. That's what I want to conclude with. So, நான் உஷ் என்று காற்று மூலமாக வருகிறேன். அந்த விஷம் மருந்து என் மேல் அடிக்கிறது. That poison that you have put for the ants, it is coming on me. நான் இங்கே இருக்க வேண்டாமா? He's asking, don't you want me to be here? You are putting the poison to drive away the ants. But that is affecting me. Don't you want me to be with you? How God asks, right? Don't you want me to be with you? Then he asks, Yenna, what do you lose? See how wonderfully, in fact my father, when he used to read these things, he'd be like, how do you contain this happiness? God himself, he's interacting in this wonderful way, in this intimate way, with such respect, and he's correcting us as well. This is the way in which he corrected that. So he says, Yenna, I'll come to the second thing. So in that he asks about Vendama, Yenna, Yerumbu vandal Yenna. If the ant comes, what do you lose? Sariyaga pogiradu. That means it's going in a line. What's your problem? It's going in a line. Let it go, right? Sariyaga pogiradu. And then he says something extremely important. Naan yerumbaga varuven. I will come in the form of an ant. Tanniril vizhndal adarku punyam. What is Father worried about? It will come to the Amritam, all this, there's a lingam that Swami had put there, and water used to come out of that lingam by itself. That's called a Jalagandeshwar. And this Jalagandeshwar lingam, it would automatically, give out the tirtham. And Father was worried that the ant will go there and it will get stuck in that water. So Swami is saying, Tanniril vizhndal adarku punyam. Why are you stopping it? If it falls in that water, it's punyam for it to go up in the evolution, right? நான் விஷக்காற்றுடன் இங்கே இருக்கிறேன். I am staying here. The Swami is present there in this kind of an atmosphere where there is this poisonous air. நீங்கள் என்ன செய்கிறீர்களோ செய்யுங்கள். You do what you want to do. Right? And I'll just cut short here, but there's another letter that came 1 month later, and how Swami transforms us through his love. Here it is, Father was driving away the ants. Okay, Swami did a leela of, I'm not able to cover everything, but here, Swami did a leela of what is called as Annapurni, puja. Swami himself did the puja, completely, everything. From the pot to everything, Swami himself did all the puja. And at the end of it, he said, take the prasadam and have it. What was inside the prasad? Swami himself had filled over several days. There was rice, there were grains, rubies, pearls, Okay, and then a lot of other things were also put in that. Money was put in that too, right? And this Kodam, that Kumbham. And then Swami put his own photograph on top of that. Okay, he arranged all of that. And then at the end of it, Swami said, okay, now the puja is done. He said the puja is over. Now you can take the rice and partake of it. Okay, so what happened then was, Father, they all took the rice, everything was done. And they thought that the pot was empty. And so several weeks after that, Father took that vessel, because now the purpose was over, right? Everything that vessel had been cleared off. So he took that vessel, poured water in that vessel, and he took it to the plants, and then threw that water, like to sort of using that as a pot to go and water the plants. Came a letter from there. Okay. Right after that came a letter that Swami, that Annapurni that Swami had created, small little idol or vigraham of Annapurni. But here, this letter is very important, because this is how he transforms that. From the attitude of driving away the ant. So he tells here, Sri Raman, that was father's name, Nan Annapurni Arsiye Urpatti Panni Koduthen. That means I generated or I created this Annapurni rice for you. Adai Ittanal Varil Saptingal. That means all of you had this rice. That is, the human beings there had that rice. Right? They partook of the prasadam that Swami gave. Santosham. Very good. You did a good thing. You got this prasadam, Santosham. இன்று செடிகளுக்கு எறும்பு புழு பூச்சிக்கு போட்டு விட்டீர்கள். What did Father do? He took this vessel that he thought was empty, put water in it, and went and dumped. Actually, the vessel was not empty. The vessel had those grains of rice that Swami had put in there. And Swami is saying, those grains have reached my creation. Right? Swami is saying that what happened today, right? You'll see the next sentence where he kind of like criticizes my father, but you can see what he does. எறும்பு புழு பூச்சிக்கு போட்டு விட்டீர்கள். நல்லது. ஆனால் நீங்கள் எறும்பு வந்தாலே ஓட்டி விடுவீர்கள். Because that's what you had done before, right? If the ant comes, you will drive it away. You will drive the ants away. But how come today you fed the ants? See how he transformed, right? How through love he has transformed from doing something that is a sinful act, in a way, not sinful really, with all devotion, but the thing is that universal love for all of his creation. And how by mistake there are few grains left there, and that goes into the plants. And those worms, insects, in that flower pot there, got to partake of the same prasadam, that Annapurni prasadam. This is how he handles creation. This is how he looks at everything in a broad-minded way. We are all his children. We are all his. There are only two things that I have taken away from Swami, from everything that Swami has done. Devudu Unnadu. Okay. Second thing is that same God loves all of us. All of his creation he loves. With these two things, I would like to tell you. Sorry, one thing. I forgot to say something here. I asked, we had a wonderful program with Shiva Prasad Garu, and I thought this would be something that you would all appreciate, because Swami comes down to the level of us human beings, right? You can challenge him on anything, he will probably do that, right? So, Shiva Prasad Garu, right? We heard you whistle, right? Now, do you think that Swami could whistle? There you go. You see the picture. Oh, it's connected. It's connected.
Let's turn it off.
No, so.
Yeah.
It's coming slower. Slower. It's a Krishna. Right? He is Krishna himself. So you can see him doing that, right? So I asked him before his program, at any point of time, has Swami taught you listening? I asked him, and I said, you'll see something it's on the internet everywhere, but you can see, Swami listening. So, Swami is everywhere. Swami.
Om Sri Sai Ram. It is my pleasure and, of course, duty to thank both the participants today for the Samarpan. Words fail me if I have to describe in detail what all the pleasures we had, but suffice it to say, it is Swami's blessing that Shiva Prasad led to Sudarshanam. This is Swami's gift that Sudarshanam has made us see that God is there in every creation and He loves it all. And Devudu Unnadu. As a small token of our love and affection, I would like to request Uncle Vishwanathan to come over here and present our gift first to Shiva Prasad Yadav and then to Sudarshan. I would like to call upon Mrs. Sarada Vishwanathan to give a bouquet of flowers to Mrs. Sudarshan. Jai Sai Ram.
Om Jai Jagadish Hare
Swami Satya Sai Hare
Shashivardhana Sridhara Sarva Bharavate Swami Sarva Bharavate Ashrita Kalpalatika Ashrita Kalpalatika Avartadava Om Jai Jagadish Hare Mata Pita Guru Deva Mariyantayukive Swami Mariyantayukive Nata Brahma Jagannatha Nata Brahma Jagannatha Nate Nashrayana Om Jai Jagadish Hare Om Kalarupa Ujjasvi O Sai Mahadeva Satya Sai Mahadeva Mangala